Now this is what serialization is completely, and there is another small concept, externalization.
Sir, there is one question. Actually, why would one person go for this serial version UID? Although we know that we have made some change in that application, so we have to change that serial version UID also.
Yes.
So why would we do this simultaneously? Because in any way he is not able to run the whole application. It would be
See, now today I have serialized the information. Okay? And after 6 months I want to deserialize from that. Within 6 months, can you ensure that the name of the attribute or the data of the attribute or something has not been changed? It's not like that, right? So, there are chances. So, if it is a programming language, it will handle all the things in any worst case. So, it was like that, okay?
Sir, if all the attributes are same, but the serial version UID is different.
Then you are a bad developer. Okay, we should use its programming language will restrict you only up to some extent. Okay, it will not restrict you to the fullest extent. It's your common sense. Okay, that makes the difference. If you are changing the serial version UID as per your wish without changing anything, it's not a correct programming practice. Definitely will generate the exception. If the serial version UID is changed, irrespective whether the attribute names are same or different, it will generate the exception. But it's not correct. See, if the algorithm of the method, where we change the algorithm of the method? See, why method is involved here?
Because we have modified the code in the base class. After that, we are not changing the base name. So, they need to change only the attributes.
Attribute data types or names, or when new attributes are added. That's what I think. It's the common sense of the developer. Not everything will be restricted by the programming language. Okay. Now let's switch over to externalization. 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 What is externalization means? The process of persisting the state of the object into the file system. Okay? The process of persisting the state of the object into the file system using the externalizable interface. There is an interface in IO package which is named as externalizable interface is present in Java.io package. Persisting the state of the object using the externalizable interface is called as externalization. Persisting the state of the object into the file system using externalizable interface. Persisting the state of the object into the file system using externalizable interface is called as externalization. And in a serializable file, what happens? The class information will be persisted, as well as the attributes information will be persisted, as well as the value of corresponding attributes also will be persisted. But in an externalized file, the class information doesn't exist, the attribute information doesn't exist, only the values exist. only the values and the corresponding data types will exist. In a serializable file, all the information, the class information, as well as the attributes information, as well as the corresponding values will be persisted. But in an externalized file, only the data types and the corresponding values will be persisted. And the file extension will be the same for serialization as well as externalization. .ser only. The extension of the file will be the same. .ser. Now let's consider like we have a employee object. Okay, the same employee object is being serialized using serializable interface as well as it's being externalized using externalizable interface. Now I have two files. One is emp underscore serialize.ser, emp underscore and the employee object is being serialized, or the state of the employee object is being persisted into the first file using serialization, and the state of the object, the state of the same object is being persisted into the second file using externalization. Now, which file size will be bigger? The first file size or the second file size? First file size. Why? Why the first file size will be bigger? Because it contains the class information as well as the attribute information as well as the data type and the corresponding value information. But in the externalized file, only the data types and values. Other information doesn't exist. So the externalizable file will be of less size when compared to a corresponding serializable file. The externalizable file will be of less size when compared to corresponding serialized file. Now, let me write a separate class for externalization. The process will be almost the same. So that let me copy the existing example. The process is almost the same. Let me go for externalization demo. Let me go for employee underscore ext.ser. Let me go for a simple person object. First, let me try to externalize the person object. Then we'll see the remaining employee object and all. Now, Now, the application will not change for serialization and externalization. Okay? The application will not change. Otherwise, why to write a separate file? Why can't we write in the same file? Let me go for a personal object. Let me try to process the person. The client application, the code to perform the process of serialization and externalization is the same. But the underlying entity will be changing. The class that we want to process in the file system will change. If it is implementing with serializable, earlier it was implementing with serializable, now we are implementing with and externalizable is an interface in java.io package. We should import that. Okay, nothing is being changed. Earlier we used serializable, now we are using externalizable. That's it. I'll use the same application. Let me close this, not required. I'll use the same application. Earlier we used serializable, now we are using externalizable. And externalizable is a sub interface to serializable. Externalizable is a sub interface to serializable. Externalizable extends to serializable. Externalizable is a sub interface to serializable. Right. Externalizable is a sub interface to serializable. And externalizable is not a marker interface. Externalizable is not a marker interface. Externalizable is not a marker interface. It has two methods. It has two methods. The first method is write external. Externalizable interface has two methods. The first method is write external. Second method is read external. Write external and read external. Okay. There are two methods in the externalizable interface, write external and read external. Now, what are the exceptions that are thrown by these methods? IO exception, the same. IO exception and class not found exception. So, now, let me implement the person class with externalizable. Now, will it compile successful? If we implement the person class with externalizable, will it compile successful? No. Just because externalizable interface has two abstract methods. One is write external, second one is read external. So, if we try to compile the application, let me delete the file externalization demo.java, not required at present. Where it is, HCO apps, IO, SASI. Now let me try to compile the application. it is giving a error that person is not abstract and does not override the method read external. Okay, the same way even write external also. Now let me try to override the two abstract methods, write external and read external. Now write external will take interface object output write external will take object output and will throw exception IO exception. The same way read external method, both are void methods, will take a object input which throws both IO exception class not found exception. So we have written write external and read external. Okay, we have overridden both write external and read external. Now let me keep system out.println. Now these two methods should be overridden if we implement with externalizable interface. One is write external, second one is read external. Write external will take interface object output as an input, and we should import object output and even object input also. Both are interfaces. Both object output and object input are interfaces. And write external will throw a IO exception, read external will throw IO exception and class not found exception. Understood? Now what we do is we try to execute. Okay, we try to serialize in person underscore ext dot ser. Okay, we are trying to serialize a person object. In the same way, deserialization also we will try to deserialize into person object. Now we are not taking employee and address. We are taking a simple person object for externalization as well as de-externalization. Okay. Now we have retrieved the person object and we have fetched the ID and name. But the base code to perform the externalization as well as serialization is the same. Will this code change for serialization? Now we are performing externalization. Will this code change for serialization, or is it the same? Is this code the same for serialization or not? Is the same code for serialization as well as externalization. This code, the process of persisting the state into the file system, the code will not change, but the internal mechanism of persisting the data will be changing from serialization and externalization. The code will not change. The same code can be used for serialization and externalization. Now, let me try to compile the application. Okay, externalization file should be the same. Okay, any other things that you have observed? Let me try to compile the application. Just compile, go to the classes. First, let's try to serialize the. Now, while executing the process of serialization, is the method write external automatically executed? Yes. Now, let's see the serialized externalized file. Okay. What is the difference? The serialized file, the same object is there. The serialized file has 87 bytes, but the externalized file has 44 bytes. Okay, the file size will be very less when compared to the serialized file. Now, let me try to perform the deserialization. Sorry, de-externalization. What else? What does it tell? No valid constructor. While performing de-externalization, why? Why it is telling that there is no valid constructor? Means, if you see here, the person class, in the person class, are you persisting the person? Yes. In the person class, let me keep public constructor. Local class incompatible. So, since we have changed that, let me try to perform serialization again. Let me try to compile the application. Let me go to the classes. Let me try to serialize the file. So, since we are creating the person class object, person constructor is executed, and write external is being executed. And by performing deserialization, first the person class object is being constructed, and then real external is being executed. Now, what are the values that are retrieved? What are the values that are retrieved? 0, null. Why? Are those the values that we have sent? Are those the values that we have sent? No. Then why? Why the values are still null? Hmm?
So it is executing the constructor, so it will accept the value to constructor.
Hmm.
We are not asking, we are not initializing the construction.
Hmm. So
By default, it is giving the
the de-externalization process, how it happens is, it will fetch only the values. It will not push the values into the object. The deserialization, what it will do? It will fetch the values, it will create the object, fetch the values, create the object, okay, and push the values into the specific attributes. All these things will be done by the deserialization, the read object method itself. But while performing de-externalization, this should be done by ourselves. Okay? While performing de-externalization or even externalization. See, now, while performing serialization, what happens? Automatically, the attributes and the corresponding values will be persisted into the file system. But while performing de-externalization, okay? Oh, sorry. Let me come once again. While performing serialization, what happens? Just if you give the object to the method write object, what happens is the object will be fetched and the corresponding class information as well as the attribute information as well as the values will be stored into the file. But while performing externalization, that information will not be persisted automatically. We should write a code to persist the information into the file system. If you want to externalize the information into the file system, then it is our responsibility to do that. We should write that explicitly through a code. We should do that explicitly through a code. In the process of externalization, the state of the object will not be automatically persisted. It should be done only through code. It should be done only through code. So now how we can write the code means the same. Just we'll set that object output dot and the de-externalization will expect a explicit non-augmented constructor. The process of de-externalization will expect a explicit non-augmented constructor. Now, we ourselves are setting some values like set int, set string, like that. Okay? We ourselves are setting some values like set int, set string, like that. Okay? Now,
if there are two string members, then how it will check to reset If there are two
string members, then it will be order, right? First int, then string, then string. It should be retrieved in that order only. While performing de-externalization, we should fetch in that order itself. If you are doing something, then it's our responsibility to do it perfectly. Okay? We'll see. Once de-externalization is completed, you can understand it better. Now, I have set the value integer string. Now, let me try to compile the application. Object output. Let me see. Let me see this. I don't think so. String is not there, right? Object is there. To set an object, we go for right object. Even if it is a string object, we go for right object. So just please type up the code and write this. Write int and write object. No, write string is not there. To write any object, any external object, we use write object. Possible. We can write anything to the external as well. Okay. Now let me try to compile the application. Once it is completed, you can note it down. Okay. Go to the classes. Let me try to serialize the file. Let me try to delete the existing. Externalize the file. Now let me try to execute the application. Now constructor is being executed, write external is being executed. Now let me try to perform the de-externalization. Person class constructor is executed, read external is being executed, and what are the values present in the person object? What we are printing is, we are printing the values present in the person object. What are the values? ID, name. And why? Why these values are null? Are we persisting the correct values? ID and name? Yes. If we are persisting the values, why these are not being retrieved in the person object while performing de-externalization? While performing de-externalization, why? Why this is not getting? Why these values are not populated means, again the same reason. Again the same reason. To perform externalization or to perform de-externalization, it's our responsibility to write the logic. Okay? To perform externalization or to perform de-externalization, or while performing externalization or while performing de-externalization, it's our responsibility to write the logic, or it's our responsibility to write the corresponding logic. So, from the person object to file system, or from the file system to person object. Okay? Anything, a forward or reverse. Okay? From the object to the file system, or while fetching the information from the file system to the object. It's our responsibility to write that code. Okay? So, even in read external also, what we do is, We should write explicitly. Understood? See, if it is external serialization, what happens is, what will happen is, first, if it is serialization, what happens is, what we do is, we create a person object with ID 100, name some Ravi, and we execute the object output stream dot write object of person. Am I right? What we are doing? We are executing object output stream dot write object of person. If the person object implements with serializable, what happens is the class information. Let's consider this is a file. Okay, this is person dot ser. The class information will be stored. Okay, the class information will be stored like this of person. Class information will be stored as well as the corresponding attribute information will be stored. ID equal to 100, name equal to Ravi, like that. And while performing selection, what happens? Directly this object state will be persistent to the file system, and this will be done automatically in your binary code. And when performing deserialization also from the file system, what happens is automatically a new object will be created based on the class information. A new object will be created based on the class information. Okay, as well as the corresponding attribute values will be automatically populated. The corresponding values will be automatically populated. And population of the state of the object into the file system will be automatically done by the write object itself if it is serializable. Population of the information from the serialized file to the object will be automatically done by the read object itself if it is serializable. But if it is externalization, what happens is, first we have an object. We have ID 100, name as Ravi. We are trying to perform externalization. Okay, so we have object output dot, we execute write object of person. What happens is, first the write object method will check whether the object is externalizable or serializable. If it is serializable directly, it has some other process. It has some process of persisting the information in the file system. If it is externalizable, if this object is externalizable, then it has some other process of persisting the information to file system. If it is serializable, what happens? The class information as well as the attribute information as well as the corresponding value information will be persistent to the file system. But if it is externalizable, then it has some other process of persisting the state of the object into the file system. First, what it will do means, it will go to the corresponding write external method. You go to the corresponding write external method by passing the object output. Okay? Then whatever we persist here, whatever the information that we persist here in the write external, whatever the information that we persist in the write external, only that information will be persistent in the file system. So in the externalized file, what happens is, let's consider this is the externalized file. What happens is, the class information will be there. Person. This is externalized file of person class. Okay, and nothing will be there. 100. Nothing. First 100, just because first I have persisted 100 and then Ravi. The externalized file doesn't have any information to which attribute that is a value. That may be for ID or name or X or Y or Z. It will maintain externalizable file contains only the entity name or entity information or general class information. The externalized file will have the class information as well as sequential values. That's it. Okay? Sequential values. Understand the difference between externalizable file and a serializable file? Serializable file has the class information as well as the attribute and the corresponding values. Attribute value ID 100, name Rajesh, age 25, like that. Okay? The corresponding key value pair information, the attribute and the corresponding value information will be there in the serialized file. But if it is an externalized file, only the class information and the sequential values will exist. And while performing de-externalization, what we do? We execute the method read external, which takes object input. And we already have the person object created. Okay? And we already have the person object created, which is internally using non-augmented constructor of the class. Okay? And it is our responsibility. The values will be there in the object input. The sequential values will be there in the object input. So, read it. We'll set to the ID. Is dot name equal to read object. So, sequentially we are externalizing, and in the same sequence we should perform de-externalization. And only sequential values will be stored. Only the class information and the sequential values will be stored in the externalized file. Let's consider like person has ID, age, name. Understood? ID, age, name. So, can I say it like this? While performing externalization, what I'll do is, I'll set in the right external method, what I'll do is first write int of ID, write int of age, write int of name. This is the order that they have externalized. Understood? Now this will be stored in the file as 126. Now while performing the externalization, can I do like this? Read it. ID equal to can I do like this? The compiler will allow as well as the runtime environment will allow this. But did we do any mistake here? Yes. While externalizing, what we have done? First we have externalized ID, age and name. But while performing the externalization, age first was externalized and ID and name. So it's our responsibility to externalize and de-externalize the information in the correct order. The compiler and runtime environment will not take care of that. The externalized file contains only the class name and the sequential values. And it's our responsibility to perform the de-externalization in the correct order. Understood? Now which file size will be big? Definitely the serialized file size will be big just because it contains the attribute and the corresponding key value pair information. But this contains only sequential values. Understood? Understood the externalization, or do we need to still explain? Understood? This is how the process of externalization will be. And which one do you think it is better?
Without using translate keywords, we can filter it.
Mm-hmm.
If by using externalization, without using translate, we can filter out.
Which one do you think better? Externalization or serialization? Again, it's based on the requirement. Okay? If you go for serialization, what happens is there are advantages as well as disadvantages for serialization. Okay? The advantage of serialization is we need not to take care of the logic of populating the object into the file system as well as while populating the information from the file system to the object, Java object. While populating the information from the Java object to the file system or from the file system to the Java object, we need not to take care of that. Everything will be taken care by the write object and the read object itself. But if it is externalization, it's our responsibility to populate the information into the file system as well as it's our responsibility to populate the information from the file system to the object. Okay? Populating the information from the object to the file system will be done in write externally. Populating the information from the file system to the object will be done in read externally. Okay? We should write explicit code. But here itself there is advantage with externalization. Why? Because how we can restrict an object from, or how we can restrict an attribute from serialization? Transient. Can we change that at the runtime? Can we change that by using some runtime logic? We cannot restrict or we cannot filter out the access modifier at the runtime using the logic. But if we go for de-externalization, what I'll do is, then I'll write a logic like if then only externalize the information. Can I filter out the members that are being externalized at the runtime by using the logic? Yes or no? Yes. See, if it is serialization, to restrict the member from serialization, the only way is transient. That too, I should give transient at the time of compilation. If it is transient at the time of compilation, okay? If it is transient at the time of compilation, that's it. We cannot serialize the information of that particular attribute. But if you want to persist the information based on the condition, let's consider like if the age is less than 100, then persist the information. Let's consider the ID of the person is less than 100, then persist it. If the ID is greater than 100, don't persist it. Then if you want to filter the members of the members that are persisted in the file system based on the logic. If you want to filter the members that are persisted into the file system based on the logic, definitely we should go for externalization. We cannot achieve that through serialization. Understood? Here in externalization, where we can filter them, let's consider like we are persisting some 10 attributes into the file system. Okay, those 10 attributes should be persisted only when the ID is less than 100. Then where I can write that logic? Where I can write that logic? In the method write external. In the method write external, I can verify that if ID is less than 100, then only persist the information. Otherwise, don't persist the information. Okay? That conditional persistence. The conditional persistence can be achieved only through externalization. Serialization cannot give, or serialization will not provide that kind of conditional persistence. Understood? And even in the reverse. Okay? Conditional population of the information from the file system to the object cannot be given by serialization. Serialization what it will do, deserialization what it will do, it will populate all the information from the file system to the object. But it may not be required. Let's consider like we have 100 attributes in an object. We have 100 attributes in an object. There are 100 attributes in object. 1, 2, 3, like that. There are 100 attributes in object. Now we have serialized them. Okay? And that will, a file will be generated, and what we do is we transfer the file to a network. Okay, this file is being transferred to a network to another system. This file is being transferred through a network to another system. Okay? Now what I need to do is, there is an object which is having 100 attributes, but at the place of the client, let's consider like this is producer and this is the consumer. At the place of consumer, we are accessing only 2 attributes. The object contains 100 attributes, 100 non-static attributes. But at the place of consumer, what we are using is we are using only 2 attributes. Then which one you will prefer? Serialization or externalization? Externalization. If we choose serialization here, what happens? 100 attributes will be persistent into the file system. Okay? And 100 attributes, information should be transferred over a network. And even the object will be heavy here. To populate 100 attributes information from the file system to the object, it will consume some time. Understood? Populating 100 attributes information into the file system will take time, as well as transferring a file which contains 100 attributes information will take time, as well as populating the object, deserialization of an object which contains 100 attributes will be time consuming. So, if that is the case, what we do? We simply externalize the file. We simply externalize the file which contains only 2 attributes information. 1, 2. And here, at the consumer place, we de-externalize the information. Only 2 attribute values will be populated. Understood? Then which one will perform better? Definitely externalization will give better performance. Okay? But we should write the logic. Serialization will give less performance when compared to externalization. But it will give, we need not to write the logic. Okay? Persistence as well as population back to the object will be done by the write object and read object itself. But if it is externalization or de-externalization, we should write the logic. Understood? And even the file size also will be very less in case of externalization compared to serialization. Then a very important question in interviews is, what is the difference between serialization and externalization? Just note down the differences between serialization and externalization, then after we will discuss them.
like trying to convey classroom and
Yes. So we will know which are the two elements and what are the instruments. What? This is a very important question in the list. What's the difference? When we go for serialization, when we go for externalization. Which one is preferable? Which one will perform better? No? The first difference is the difference. Performing or processing the single object in a file system, which is serializable interface is serialization, externalizable interface is externalization. Serializable is a marker interface, whereas externalizable is not a marker interface. It contains two methods, write external and read external. And externalizable is a sub-interface to serializable. Okay? We process the object using serializable. Okay? We process the state of the object using serializable. The class information as well as the key value pair of the attributes will be persisted. But if we process the object using externalization, only the class information as well as sequential values. The values will be persisted sequentially as we write in the write external. The values will be persisted sequentially. Let's consider like first we have persisted name, then ID, then they will be in the order itself. The values will be persisted in the externalized file in the sequence that we have given in the write external. And the next difference is the values of the attributes of a serialized object will be automatically persisted into the file system. But the values of the attributes of an externalized object, okay, if you want to persist values of an externalized object, those values should be sequentially persisted in the write external method. The values should be sequentially persisted in the write external method if we use externalizable. If we use serializable, automatically the values will be persisted in the file system. But if we use externalizable, the values will not be persisted automatically. We should write a code for that in the write external method. If you use serializable, the values will be automatically persisted to the file system. But if we use externalizable, the values will not be automatically processed in the file system. The values should be persisted through a code that is written in the right external. And whatever we value in the right external, those values will be sequentially persisted. If we write this line first, then first name will be persisted and then ID will be persisted. If it is like this, then first name will be persisted, then ID will be persisted. The values will be persisted as per the sequence that we have given in the right external. And the next difference is the file size. The file size of a serialized file will be very high when compared to the externalized file. And when performing de-externalization, the object is being created using a class.perfect. When performing de-externalization, object is being created using class.perfect. Deserialization. While performing deserialization, the object is being created using class.perfect. But while performing de-externalization, the object is being created using the non-augmented constructor. While performing deserialization, the object will be created using class.perfect. But while performing de-externalization, the object will be created using a public non-augmented constructor. Not even non-augmented constructor, it should be a public non-augmented constructor. So, public non-augmented constructor is mandatory if you want to perform de-externalization. If you want to perform de-externalization, public non-augmented constructor is mandatory. But if you want to perform deserialization, public non-augmented constructor is not mandatory. Public non-augmented constructor is mandatory if you want to perform de-externalization. But if you want to perform deserialization, public non-augmented constructor is not mandatory. And while performing deserialization, the object will be automatically populated with the corresponding values. But when performing de-externalization, we should write that code in read external. Understood? And this will complete for Java except JDBC. Okay? Tomorrow we'll start JDBC. When the semesters